Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Lagos. The past weeks have been some incredible one for Nigeria's ruling political party, the All Progressives Congress APC. Some critics have in fact gone ahead to describe the state of the Broom Party as a united and scattered one. But last Thursday, the President Muhammadu Buhari attended a National Executive Committee meeting of the party convened by Mr. Victor Giadam. At that meeting, the party's National Working Committee was disbanded, and a caretaker and extraordinary National Convention Committee was set up to oversee the affairs of the party. That committee is headed by the governor of Yobe State, Mai Mala Boni. Mr. Adams Oshomole, the former national chairman of the party now, has since come out to accept the decision of the NEC. Take a listen to him. That was yesterday when he held a press conference.
I believe that the NWC, the APC, under my chairmanship, had done its best, and the results are there. Of course, we have now been dissolved, and I have accepted that dissolution in good faith. I am not going into the issue of legality or illegality. The bottom line is the president who invited me to lead the party and who gave me all the support and who mobilized all the support across the country for my emergence as chairman also presided over the meeting where the NWC has now been dissolved. And because I have always assured the president of my loyalty, and you know it's easy for people to speak to loyalty where the going is good, but loyalty is brought to the test when the going gets really, really tough.
And so there have been a series of contentions over the decisions of the NEC. And in fact, the main opposition party, PDP, has condemned the president for hosting the NEC meeting at the council chambers. Well, in the APC, there seems to be a lot of contention on the decision of President Buhari when he said he was going to go with the Victor Giadam-led faction of the party. One of the leaders of the party, which a lot of people were talking about when all was happening, is the former Lagos governor, Buhari and Tinubu, and has come out in a statement to accept the decision of the NEC and that of President Muhammadu Buhari. I'm going to read out some of what he said in the statement. One of the statements is about the leadership crisis of the party and the decision of the NEC. Buhari Tinubu says, and I quote, "The president has spoken and his decision has been accepted. It is now beholden on all of us as members of the APC to recommit ourselves to the ideals and principles on which our party was founded, while we recognize that people have personal ambitions. Those ambitions are secondary, not sacrosanct. Members must subordinate their ambitions to health and well-being of the party. Never should our party be defined by one person's interest or even the amalgam of all members' individual interests. A successful party must be greater than the sum of its parts." On the links of the decision of the NEC and where the president stands and 2023 presidential ambition, this is what Buhari and Tinubu said. He said, quote, "To those who have been actively bleating how the president's actions and the NEC meeting have ended my purported 2023 ambitions, I seek your pity. I am but a mere mortal who does not enjoy the length of foresight or political wisdom you profess to have. Already, you have assigned colorful epitaphs to the 2023 death of an alleged political ambition that is not yet even born." End of quote. That's Buhari and Tinubu on whether or not his 2023 presidential ambition has been massacred by the decision of NEC. Tonight, let's speak with the president's senior special assistant on media and publicity, Mr. Garba Shehu, with some of the issues that have been linked to the president and the fact that people had raised issue on why the president hosted that NEC meeting at the council chamber. Thank you so much, Mr. Garba Shehu, for your time tonight on the program. Let's begin by getting clarification or the reasons behind what a lot of Nigerians, the average person, sees as where the Federal Executive Council meeting is usually held every Wednesday, was where the following day, on Thursday, that the party or the president hosted the NEC meeting. Why?
Well, thank you for inviting us to be part of your program. And to begin by saying that if you look at the laws of the country, constitution and all of that, there's nothing that says that a section of the villa is designated for this meeting or that meeting. So no law is violated. The president is a permanent resident of the villa so long as he's serving his elected term in office. He was required to present himself before a TV camera and be part of a digital meeting. This meeting had been called not to take place in the villa, but to take place digitally. And that the president had around himself some governors who came and some members of the National Assembly. And the president chose to do this from the council chamber. One, as I said, because there is no law that says he cannot make a telephone or TV conference call from his bedroom or any chamber. But also the fact that there are concerns about health. We are in a coronavirus environment. The situation does not allow for meetings in tiny rooms where people are compacted in total disregard of social distancing. You know the nature of the secretariat to have and its conference room. People, in spite of air conditioning, people sweated through the hours of meetings. You can't have that going on under this coronavirus situation. So there are facilities for teleconferencing within the chamber. The president sat to do this while he was addressing the larger number of members who were connected via telephone and conference calls all across the country. He violated no law of this country. That's the point we're making.
So, Mr. Garba Shehu, so violation of law on one side. So a lot of lawyers have also said that this is merely a moral issue, isn't it? And the fact that people, they thought that the decision to host that meeting at the Federal Executive Council chamber is about using the resources of state for party affairs. Do you think that was right?
Well, first of all, I will say that the question of morality does not arise because nobody, as I said, by practice or by law had designated the council chamber as a holy shrine where there cannot be this or that kind of meeting. And two, it is funny that people will ask that the president cannot have access, given incumbency, that he cannot use state, facilities for engagement such as we just had now, teleconferencing. Now, assuming this meeting had held in the party secretariat in Wusetu, did they expect that the president will come out of the villa and flag down a taxi and go? That he will not use the protected bulletproof vehicles that he used to that meeting? And of course, if he had used those cars to the meeting, which he would have, they would still have said, why did you use state resources to do or to attend a party meeting? So everyone does it. That does not make it right. However, the point is that the PDP, which had been very outspoken in this thing, look, PDP had used the council chamber to canvass a breach of the Constitution of Nigeria. Wasn't third term canvassed in that chamber? Where were they? The problem they have as critics, the party has lost memory of its own history. The way they are going, if care is not taken, one day PDP will tell us that they have forgotten that they have ruled this country for 16 years, in the course of which they had caused so much ruination. Otherwise, look at all of the years that they have served in there. What is President Buhari doing that others did not know? However, as I said, strictly on the point of view of law and morality, nothing has been breached by holding a teleconference from any part of the villa. It could have been the president's bedroom.
Mr. Shehu, are you saying to us tonight that there are no other facilities within the presidential villa where the president can hold this meeting or this teleconference aside the council chamber? Put the PDP aside. Let's talk as though we are Nigerians, and the president has his loyalty to Nigerians, some of them who voted for him into office. The fact that party or partisan issues are being taken into the hallowed chamber of the governance, where governance are being held, raised a lot of question. So are you saying that there are no other places where this can be held aside the council chambers, where governance issues are being discussed?
No, absolutely no. Because when you say that, then people miss the very essence of incumbency. Incumbency confers on a leader a number of advantages. The chairman of PDP cannot say, give me a room in the villa today, I want to go and sleep there. They will not admit him because he didn't win an election. The opposition cannot go to the villa and say, give us a conference room, we want to use it. You have to win an election to go in there. Those who won election before us, they have used the villa. When we finish our own term, we will leave. New people will come and occupy it. And they have to use the incumbency advantages are there. That's the essence of winning. If you lose, you don't get them.
Mr. Shehu, you have been, this is not your first time working in the presidential villa. Can you remember at any point during the times that you were there that such partisan issues are being held at the council chamber? Can you remember any in those years?
Please, can I get this question again, because the connection is becoming poor.
So I'm saying that this is not your first time working in the presidential villa. You've worked with former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Can you remember in those years where the council chamber was used for such a partisan issue or partisan meeting?
I'm not saying, let me say, I'm not trying to justify justification from what others did in the past. If you are asking people with institutional memory, we have them in the villa. And as I said to you, if it is a desecration of the villa, the former vice president himself was announced expelled from that chamber. How could, that was the height of partisanship in any government that you could have had. So we have seen them come and go, and they had expressed support for this leader or that leader and said, we support you, whether they're traditional rulers or governors or whoever they are. So the thing is that people cannot forget themselves and begin to, because it is Buhari. That's why they are making all this noise. That's why I said people forget their own history. They forget.
What about the? So a lot of, I mean, one of the other issues which has been raised is the fact that the Attorney General, Mr. Abubakar Malami, was the one who sworn in the APC Caretaker Committee chairman. Is that also, in any sense, within the presidency, a right decision to take?
Please, can you give me the question again, because
so I said another issue that was raised is the role of the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice in that cabinet, who was used as a lawyer to swear in the APC caretaker chairman. For a lot of people who found a problem with that, from the presidency perspective, was that a good decision to make?
Before he became Attorney General of the Federation, he had been a card-carrying member and the lawyer of the party. When he swore in Adams Oshomole after their own election at Eagle Square, why didn't they make this observation? Attorney General had been there to swear in all party leaders at the party secretariat and at Eagle Square, where we have had this. All government lawyers had done this in the past. So he did that as a lawyer, as a lawyer and a member of the, not necessarily as Attorney General of the Federation.
Let me ask you then, because there's another issue here, and it's about your principal's relationship with the leader of the APC, Bola Tinubu. What is the president's position? Because a lot of the disposition of some members of your party is such that the decision of NEC and the body language of the president is not one that is favorable to perhaps the relationship between Bola Tinubu and President Muhammadu Buhari.
Those who say that, they don't know the nature of the relationship between the president and Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. As we said in a statement, they have managed one of the most enviable relationships you could ever have in politics without any rancor or any stress. They know how they do it. They have been in touch with one another. They are in touch with one another. They converse directly and through trusted officials, including our chief of staff and all of that. So people should not dabble into things that they don't know. Everyone is a winner from what has happened on Thursday at that NEC meeting. I'm glad to say that Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself has given a statement in which he totally endorsed all of that has happened and has said he's behind it. So there shouldn't be a controversy where there is none, unless people simply are desperate to manufacture one.
Can you confirm to us whether or not President Buhari conferred with the leader of the APC, Bola Tinubu, before that NEC meeting? Did your principal give you a hint about that?
Whether the president gave him a hint.
Whether the president hinted you if he conferred with Bola Tinubu before that NEC meeting and perhaps about the decision they took at that NEC meeting.
I am not in a position to give you this confirmation because when they hold their private conversations, I will not be invited as a witness. So between the president and Ashwaju Bola Tinubu is a relationship that is elevated above my head. What they discuss between themselves, I will not know. But I assure you that if people think that one is alienating the other, they are totally wrong, especially given that fantastic statement that has been issued and personally signed by Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu on all of these matters.
But Mr. Shehu, what is the position of the president himself? Has he told you anything after that meeting about Bola Tinubu?
We have issued a statement, and the president is in the full picture of that statement, which is to say that between I and Bola Tinubu, there is nothing that is amiss. And so we said to people, to critics, don't say things you don't know. You better study this relationship and know how it works before you begin to pretend that you are knowledgeable about these things. A lot of people, unfortunately, have displayed their ignorance on TV and newspapers, classifying winners and losers from the outcome of that meeting. No. Everyone came out a winner, and the rank and file of our party membership is extremely pleased with that outcome. And the rest is for us to see what comes from here.
Mr. Garba Shehu, Senior Special Assistant to President Muhammadu Buhari on Media and Publicity, thank you tonight for your interventions and your thoughts.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We'll take a break, but when we come back, we dig deeper into the crisis of the APC. The man you see there is being referred to now as the Mr. Fix-It of the APC. We dissect the legality of what has happened, and of course, we have one of the most senior lawyers in Nigeria to get us the views on the legality of internal party affairs in Nigeria. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's get back to our conversation. The crisis of the APC was laced or orchestrated by a series of court-related conflicts and decisions. There were conflicting court orders, and court of coordinate jurisdiction intervened on same matter. In few days, there have been several orders too difficult to track. I have joining me tonight one of Nigeria's most senior lawyers, senior advocate of Nigeria, Chief Robert Clark, to share his views on the situation. Thank you so much, Chief Clark, for your time tonight.
Always my pleasure.
First and foremost, because a lot of people are having different views on what has happened at the council chambers and his issue of asking the questions on what government is doing and putting them on their toes. For you, as a senior lawyer, is it a matter of legality or matter of morality?
The question of Mr. President hosting an executive meeting or central working executive meeting of APC in the villa, that is what you're asking me to say.
Absolutely.
Whether
at
it's
the council,
of morality.
absolutely. Whether it was right to do it at the council chambers.
There is nothing wrong for Mr. President. He is the landlord of Aso Rock as of today. And as Shehu rightly said, this period of COVID-19, you will not want your president today to go and move into a chambers where security has not been placed there, where there are no instruments of sanitizing or anything. So you see, the question now is, does the end justify the means? Forget about the means. The means is that a meeting was held in Aso Rock. Forget about that. What has come out of that meeting, which is the end, is it justified? My answer is yes. The party has been able, through that instrumentality of Mr. President, been able to resolve a crisis within the party. If you look back at 2014 or 2000, PDP were in the same mess. But because they didn't have a leader that could quickly discern what will happen to the party, they could not fix it up.
But they had a president.
They had a president, but he never showed. With due respect, he's a fine gentleman. I know him very well. If he had done what Buhari did now, PDP would have still been in power.
Do you think what President Buhari did was right in the face of the law?
Well, let me explain that. I have always been of the view that courts have no right to be issuing ex parte orders. Ex parte orders in general is an unconstitutional act because the Constitution says the other party must be heard. You must put, both parties in a suit, put them on notice. But ex parte orders, you just rush to the court, the judge grants an ex parte order, and you lie on that ex parte order to do. Now,
so it's apologies. So I thought ex parte orders are legal proceedings of a court, which is held by one party in a matter. But if it's illegal, why does judges grant ex parte orders?
I am not saying it's illegal. I say it's unconstitutional.
Okay.
You see, it has become legalized because by the procedure in courts, they say, look, even though it's unconstitutional, but the subject matter can be destroyed. So we will give you an interim order so that the subject matter, the rest in the matter, will be preserved. And you will find that because it is unconstitutional, it is a self-discharging order. The court says, okay, if I give you an interim order, it will only last you 14 days. After 14 days, it is self-discharge. So in this present case, when the judge made that order, granting interlocutory restrictions, A, B, and C, APC have been claiming that that order was never served on them. And therefore, if you do not serve an interim order on the other party, it lapses. So the second time, they went back to the court. The 14 days period had gone, but it is neither here nor there.
It was said to be served by substituted means.
Oh, well, whatever means they did it. What I'm now saying is that, with due respect to the judge himself, why did he appoint an interim chairman? Was that part of the writ in front of him? What was before the judge was to declare that Oshimole can no longer be chairman. Why should the same judge now make an order that a particular person should take over from? He has no jurisdiction to do that. So these are the problems politics is bringing to the courts.
Is it the courts that are causing the problem, or the politics
Now,
that is causing the problem?
Politicians are using the courts. I'm sorry to say this, but some judges are falling in line with these politicians' maneuvers. They are forcing the court. For instance, a judge has no right to say somebody should be holding a post in an establishment that is purely an association. When you look at Nigerian laws, there is what you call the principle in force and habitual. Force and habitual, it's an English decision almost 100 years ago that says whatever you as a judge want to do, you cannot make an order in vain. So if a director in a company is removed by the board of directors and he rushes to court, if you ask them to take him again, when they go back, the majority will throw him out again. So courts are very reluctant to make an order in relation to political parties, unions, and all this, because the majority must have its way. Now, the court has made an order now. The president has now called a meeting. They have changed the court order now. How will the judge look at when at the next hearing he cannot make any other order? Because
Chief Clerk, there is a very interesting thing here. In the eye of the law, Mr. Victor Giadom is still the acting national chairman because there is a subsisting court order saying he should act as the national chairman.
You see, it depends on which divide you are. I am not blaming Mr. President. He has done that the end justifies the means. Whatever the means, which I don't agree with him, because Giadom cannot have any court order because he was never a party to that case. So how did he get a court order asking him to go and be chairman? No, you know.
But sir, my point is there is a subsisting court order as we speak today, asking him to still be the acting national chairman of the party. So in the eye of the law, that order is still, it sees Mr. Giadom that it should be the national, acting national chairman. No. So what happened to that kind of order?
You see, I agree with you. The way and manner an order is made is irrelevant. Once the court pronounces, it becomes a legal instrument. Therefore, whether rightly or wrongly the judge had made that order, Giadom is still, by that pronouncement, the chairman, the acting chairman. I agree, and that was the basis upon which Mr. President says, look, I am a believer in court's order. If the court has said this man should be, whether rightly or wrongly, I have to abide with it. And therefore, they accepted him to call the meeting. So there is nothing wrong in Mr. President.
But sir, what I'm saying is, to vacate, to remove Mr. Giadom, doesn't is there no need for a vacation of that order first?
There is no need. Events have overtaken that order. That is why we always tell courts, you should be careful in issuing interim orders, because courts should not be seen to making orders in vain. That order made by that judge has now become an order made in vain. Events have overtaken it. The majority have now spoken.
Is the judiciary a problem to politics in Nigeria?
Well, judiciary is not a problem. Judiciary is an institution that we need, whether we like it or not. And it's the only, force in the country today that one can still rely upon. Politicians are a problem. Politicians, as I've said before on one of my interviews here, that the politicians are corrupting the courts. They are corrupting the judges. And there is nothing we can do. It's because the system itself is corrupt.
Does the judiciary have a self-cleansing mechanism? Because when you have a judge and another judge giving of coordinate jurisdiction and giving different orders on a particular matter, what does that? What's the implication our polity?
You see, the judiciary has a self-cleansing institution, that is the Judicial Service Commission, where the CJ of the Federation is also the chairman. Any erring judge, you just have to petition. If there is no petition, then nothing happens. So if two judges of coordinate jurisdiction are making different things, is the rascality we think should not creep into the judiciary. But I still hold it that these events have been created by politicians.
So how do we get out of this quandary? Because like you rightly mentioned, the president has intervened in the crisis of the APC. Now, it might be YDP, SDP, or any other party tomorrow that could be in this matter. We've seen PDP pre-2015 era entered into a similar problem where courts majorly determine how the party's affairs were run. So how do we get out of this?
Well, the system of governance we have today, the 1999 Constitution, is the problem we have in Nigeria. This Constitution allows, powers to be given to individual governors or Mr. President to the extent that as soon as they get into the position of responsibility, their personal ego takes over. And there is no, instrument that can stop them except impeachments. And how do you get impeachments? When virtually all members of the House are under the portfolio of the governor. So it's the system that is wrong. When you spend billions of naira to get nomination for a gubernatorial election in a party, when campaigning, you have to traverse the whole, as a president, you have to transfer the whole of Nigeria. You don't need such a system. It's too expensive. We cannot afford it. We have to change it.
So on a final note, Chief Clerk, the APC crisis, you think that what President Buhari did and NEC did was somewhat a statement of finality to the problem of the party?
Well, I wouldn't say it's finality, but because many people are afraid to talk in a party because they are looking for certain crumbs that will fall from here or there. So, but I believe at the moment that we are in today, the palaver in APC is a bit, down by the action of Mr. President. He has been able to put that presidential force on top of it. Nobody can go to court. If they go, they'll be removed because the majority will have its way. And the majority, I believe, I'm not saying because I'm not a politician, I believe the majority are satisfied with what Mr. President has done.
Well, I'd like to get your quick, maybe the 30 seconds reaction on the role of Mr. Malami at that swearing in. As a lawyer, do you think the Attorney General should serve that kind of role for a party affair?
Look, you have to differentiate Malami as the Attorney General and Malami as a member of APC. Malami's presence in swearing in was not as an Attorney General. He was doing it as a party member and as a lawyer. So people should know that because Malami left his chambers to come to the president's chamber to swear somebody, then he's doing it as an Attorney General. No.
All right. Chief Robert Clark, it's always a pleasure having you and getting your thoughts on some of these crucial issues. Thank you so much indeed, and it's good to see you again, Chief Clark.
God bless you.
Thank you so much. Well, let's go ahead with, let's get some, we've gotten some legal thoughts. Let's get some partisan thoughts on some of the issues in the APC. I'm now being joined by the majority leader of the House of Representatives, Honorable Alhassan Adodogua. Thank you so much, Honorable Adodogua, for your time tonight on the program. And let me perhaps start this conversation. And we've heard from Bola Tinubu, from the statement that he released, but a lot of the members of your party still believe that the rancor in the party was majorly a 2023 presidential affair that is disrupting the peace of the party. What do you say to that?
Thank you so much, Sheun, for really having me on this very important platform. Going by your question, I think I need to be very clear. Of course, you cannot rule that out. This is democracy, and not just democracy, democracy in action. So whatever comes out of this, you cannot actually separate between the chips and the grains. Certainly, there are certain interest, vested interest in what is really unfolding in the present or the ongoing crisis of the ruling APC. We are approaching 2023. It might be a little far, but of course it's not too early when you begin to make permutations as what comes out of it when the actual times come or when the die is cast. As a matter of fact, you cannot rule out the fact that yes, it has not been quite smooth for the APC in recent weeks and months. But obviously, looking at the background and the platform in which the party was actually formed, with various individuals, political interest groups from various and diverse political background, this is even something that one can call is like a normal thing, but in abnormal circumstances. Crises in political parties are natural, and crises in a political party like the one we have in the name of APC, which of course was formed by merger between and among different political opinion holders, is naturally expected. And whatever that means, I believe we live for time to define the remaining, because this is like a game. Politics is actually like a game, and it depends on how people who play the game look at it. Whether it is for 2023
Majority
or not,
Leader, let me
every one of
quickly
us-
ask you this. From your own point of view, because you're a leader in the party, 2023 is just few years away, but in the thinking of a whole lot of people, the permutations are already there. For you, as the leader of the party, which part of the country, which zone of the country do you think that the president, the next president, should be zoned to?
This is also something that is still subject to decisions and consultations and counter-consultations among the party stakeholders. For me, zoning in some political parties sometimes is even unconstitutional. It may not have been provided for in the constitution of the APC. But I want to believe determining where the next presidency should come from, or the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria should come under the arrangement of the APC is something that is too early for us to begin to talk about. But ordinarily, and in my own opinion, since we have a president who has served for two consecutive terms from the northern region, then presumably every ordinary Nigerian would now expect that the next president under the APC government or under the APC as a political party should now come from the other region. This is there is no gain saying that. But whether this holds or not is left for the stakeholders to decide, and also the instrumentality of the laws that govern the activities and operations of our political party to determine when the time comes up. But ordinarily, the expectation of every Nigerian will now think, oh, having have a president who is now serving from one part of the country for 8 years, presumably, then definitely when it comes to power shift, then we will now expect a president from the other region to now serve. That is why we call ourselves a united Nigeria. And this party, despite our differences, we must have to also accept and look at the permutation from this point of view.
There's been a lot of people who have raised questions as to what the president said and the decision of NEC. For example, the issue of the constitution of the party and where the party stands on the constitution of caretaker and how the NWC was disbanded. For some people, they think that there seems to be some illegality there, but they also think that the president needed to do it anyways just to pave a way forward. Do you agree with that opinion?
Yes, I think, Sheun, in my very candid opinion, when we all went for that meeting, I am a member of the APC NEC, and I was part of that meeting. We all felt that whatever we got to do must be done, because we all believed that the party was in a quagmire, in a serious crisis, and that crisis, we must get out of it. I even want to commend Mr. President, first of all, for doing, for the first time, coming out to really provide leadership for the political party, which he belongs. The Buhari you knew, and the Buhari I also knew, wouldn't have even delved into matters like this. And I was to have to say kudos for him for even mustering courage to have provided desired leadership for the party to get out of this crisis. It was actually a decision that was so painful on our own part. I have to be very frank. It was so painful and difficult to take, but we had to take it to get out of that quagmire we found ourselves. A ruling party like the APC, into this kind of crisis, bedeviled by court orders and counter-court orders. Certainly, we must have to provide for ourselves a direction. We must have to provide ourselves a clean slate for us to operate. And the most important thing about the decision we have taken in that NEC was not even the involvement of the president. The most important thing is that major stakeholders in this political party have taken in good faith that the decision taken at the NEC on Thursday was one that was taken with the best of intentions. And I believe the reaction we have gotten from major stakeholders, reactions we have gotten from party men across the length and breadth of the Federal Republic of Nigeria are encouraging reactions. And I want to believe day in, day out, we'll continue to look at these issues as they affect the party cohesion, as they affect our own mutual coexistence as party members.
So quickly, Honorable, let me ask you a very quick one, and I'd like you to quickly answer these, Honorable. A lot of people have been asking the question, why did the leaders of the party allow the crisis to go on for that long? Should the president have intervened earlier than he did?
I think this is quite a difficult question, but I will answer you this way, Sheun. Sometimes a problem could come up. You never could expect that it will get as bad as it was, and when you allow it continue, then it might be getting out of hands. I think that was the problem we had as a body of leaders in the party, be it at the level of NEC or at the level of the NWC. For instance, a minor issue emanating from a ward, councillorship ward, suspending the national chairman of the party was an unfortunate one. And I think the party should have swung into action to make sure that that issue, minor issue that started from the ward, should have been addressed much earlier, in fact, in a more diplomatic manner, in a manner that could resolve everything out of court before, unfortunately, we got to where we are now, and which, of course, is shaking the stability of the political party.
Majority Leader, just a moment, please.
The final decision.
Let me bring in another member of your party who is also a lawyer. Mr. Daniel Buala joins us now. And perhaps let me get your view, Mr. Buala. Thank you so much, Mr. Buala, for joining us tonight. Let me get your view on some of the issues regarding the legality or otherwise of the decision of the NEC. For example, there is the Constitution of your party, Article 17, which talks about the tenure of office, that no officer in any organ of the party shall hold executive position office in government concurrently. There is also another portion of your party constitution and powers and tenure, 13 section Article 13, which talks about the National Working Committee, which is the only power that is strengthened by the constitution to set up a caretaker committee. What are your views?
Like others have said, it's the doctrine of necessity. Every of the steps taken from when notice of meeting was given to the court of everything. We can run of the.
I think we're having a terrible audio there. Let's take a moment to fix it. And let me ask the same question. Let me ask Honorable Adodogwa the same question. Honorable, if you look at the position of your constitution, your party constitution, it definitely stands opposite the decision of the NEC and that of the position of president, which a lot of people are raising eyebrow. For example, the notice of meeting and the decision to set up a caretaker committee. What's your reaction to that?
I think my take on that, Sheun, is the fact that we are trying to provide a political solution. That is my take. And in trying to provide a political solution, you may not necessarily have to have recourse to any legal or constitutional provision. After all, the most important thing, even though I am not a lawyer, but my rudimentary knowledge about law is that once you can be able to achieve what you want to achieve through mutual cohesion, mutual understanding among stakeholders and interested party members, the ends, like Robert has said, will always justify the means. And I also know of this legal principle that says voluntas non fit injuria. Even the issue of the acting capacity of Mr. Giadon and also the dissolution of the NWC by the NEC presided over by Mr. President, who is naturally the leader of the party, executive leader of the party. I think even when there are some legalities that were maybe consciously or subconsciously been trampled upon, the fact is that as long as nobody cries out against that as a party member, is that we have all accepted wholeheartedly that this is a means to resolving our political misunderstanding. And as long as stakeholders, especially major stakeholders, the NWC members, major stakeholders, including the national leader of the party, who of course has made a statement, issued a statement, we are all his people. I have no doubt to mention that I'm a Bola Tinubu person, and I have no regret to say that. And we have been guided, of course, by the statement he has made that we should all join hands to now back the decision of Mr. President, who has now provided like a direction for the party to come back to its own footing. And that is what we are doing. We will also continue to see how we will encourage party members down the grassroots level to ensure that we obey and abide by the position of Mr. President, because that is the only way to get out of it. So it's not about a legal thing. It is a political problem that we want to now achieve peace and stability through political solution. And that is what we are doing.
Let's close the program now.
The ranks and files of the party is quite impressed by the decision provided and the direction provided by Mr. President, and we will continue to be so guided. Nobody cries out in the NWC. No other stakeholder also cries out by this decision, including the national leader, like I've said. So we will continue to operate and look inwards to see how we get out of this problem, because the interest of the party should be supreme than our individual interest.
So let's close the program, and I'd like your intervention in about 20 seconds so that we can close now. When the NEC of the party envisaged that a national convention will hold, did it give the caretaker committee the duration of the tenure of office?
Tenure of office of the caretaker committee was that was clearly stated. It is a 6-year tenure caretaker committee, and it is the same caretaker committee that will now provide, that will also serve as the convention, mini convention, extraordinary convention committee. 6-year tenure is provided for them, and they are also charged with the responsibility to also arrange and provide for the extraordinary convention. And thank God we have an experienced person. He is not just a governor. He has been, Mai Mala Buni has been a party man, experienced party administrator, not just being a governor, but because of his background and experience, I think he is rightly given the right job, and he will do it very successfully. I even like the way you now called him the Mr. Fix-It. I believe he will fix it very well for the APC to be well again.
Honorable Alhassan Adodogua, Majority Leader of the House of Representatives, a member of the House there from Kano. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. It's unfortunate we couldn't get Mr. Daniel Bwala back on the program, and we'll try to see if we can get his thoughts some other time. Thank you so much for your time. But that's our show, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Sean Wakimbalo. Enjoy the rest of your evening.